Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring in our bottom left-hand side, Cryptys, our blue Terran. In the top right, his opponent, a gold Protoss, DND. This is game 2 out of the best of 5. Cryptys took game 1 after playing on some fantastic joint aggression, just really playing to the strengths of his build of having that heavy Terran bio play, plenty of medevacs doing plenty of drops, and then just pushing in the counter aggression with his main force. It was absolutely fantastic. D&D doing a great job of dealing with that aggression, splitting up his zealots, reacting very quickly whenever a drop happened, but he just found himself spread too thin. It was really the map just not playing to the strengths of his build. Several things could have gone differently, maybe using stalkers instead of zealots, maybe getting out a warp prism to do some drop play of his own. I don't know. I really don't know, because Cryptys played so very well in that main bout. However, we're on game number 2, and game number 2 is on Cloud Kingdom, which is absolutely a fantastic map, primarily because of the honeycomb doodad in the middle, but also because if D&D finds himself in a similar predicament when he's trying to spread himself very thin, trying to defend 3 different bases, he'll have an excellent crossroad to position his main force right here, which means he'll be able to react very quickly to defend not only the third and the natural, but also allowing his Colossus to walk up, be supported by some zealots that are left to defend this mineral line, and quickly take down any of the drop play that we can be seeing coming out of Cryptys. So, will Cryptys react accordingly? Will he travel along another build order, whip out some of that Terran mech, or will he just once again try for that Terran bio play? I don't know. D&D, he might be on tilt. It could be that he's going to be trying a different build. He is progressing along that very traditional build order right now, but I mean, it's Protoss. The first 2 minutes of any Protoss build looks like, oh, a cybernetics core. Fantastic. He's building a cybernetics core. We do see that first gas being tapped already. He's going to be accumulating that gas just over time. He's saving his chrono boost. I wonder what for. We do have that first orbital command on the way for Cryptys, and he still hasn't grabbed that gas. So it looks like both players are going to be traversing down that identical build order that we saw in the first game, which for me is awesome, because I love that. I love the balance point, that knife that comes down pretty much as the late mid-game. If Terran can't cinch it in the late mid-game, he's in a lot of trouble, because once that number of Colossus builds up to a crescendo, once we see the High Templars out there with their Psionic Storm, the Marines just melt away, and all of a sudden Cryptys will be in a very bad situation. And we'll have to see a transition out of that, and one way or another it makes for a fantastic game, which is all that I'm here for. I don't know what you guys are here for, but I'm here for a good game. And I did look up, just so you guys know, I did look up to see how many games they had to play to get here. It was 4 games each, culminating in this finals. I don't know if they were all best of 3s and then this finals in best of 5s or whatnot. I'm sure you guys know much better than me. However, I do know that both players are absolutely fantastic, so I'd love to have seen those previous replays. I probably will look them up eventually. CC going down on the low ground, Nexus being thrown down on the low ground. Both players are working towards their natural expanse. Cybernetics Core already working on the warp gate tech. I love this positioning of the pylon, allowing for a warp-in of structures on the low ground. Sometimes we see it over here and actually can start constructing that wall off right here. Traditionally, it's more in Zerg versus Protoss than anything else, but it's still very clever. I like clever plays like that. 2 more gateways being thrown onto the mix for D&D, and we're going to see another assimilator being grabbed shortly if he sticks to his previous build order. Bunker already constructed on the low ground for Cyprus, but he's having no problem pushing back the Zealot even without that bunker. 4 Marines are pretty intimidating in there of their own route. It looks like double refineries have been tapped already. We're going to see a couple of add-ons being thrown on these barracks once they finish up with the next round of Marines, 3 of them finishing up in relatively short order. Switch over to the economics tab. 25 over 21, pretty much neck and neck. All things considered, you know, Terran has mules. They've got plenty of minerals to spare. But we're probably going to see this gas being tapped relatively soon. And there goes the robotics facility. So yeah, D&D is following the same pathway, which I think is an absolutely fantastic decision. This map really lends itself to the play of heavy ground-based play, heavy warp, what is it called? Gateways. Heavy gateway tech. A lot of zealots, a lot of sentries, a lot of stalkers to support a very small number of Colossus, and then eventually culminating in that higher tech, eventually getting out the High Templar. It's very traditional, but it's traditional because it works really well. Cyprus is also progressing along that similar pathway. He's getting that first factory up. Going to see a refinery on that. 2 tech labs, one of which is working on stim. We're going to see combat shield started in just a couple of seconds, because combat shield, if it starts, I think 30 seconds after stim starts, they finish up at pretty much the exact same time, and that just shows you how well organized this build is. An engineering bay also on the way, probably going to be working on that +1 a little bit earlier, because if we remember in the first game, that first push from Cypress kind of fell a little bit flat. He didn't really have the opportunity to push in because that +1 wasn't done, and he just wasn't feeling it. I mean, the Colossus count was already up. There already was a Colossus out on the field, and the Observer did scout it, even though it did get picked off in the end by a very, very nice scan. Starport also being constructed, but that's right next to the factory that's going to be using that reactor to get out a handful of medevacs. So where is that combat shield? Still haven't seen combat shield started yet, but it's still within that window. +1 also getting started, so it looks like the aggression, if there's going to be aggression coming to Cyprus, is going to be delayed just a little bit. Robotics bay also getting started, so that window is starting to close. If there is going to be some sort of drop play, it really hinges on the count of Colossus out right now. Sentry count is beginning to climb. We saw how well D&D handled those force fields in the first game, so I'm really looking forward to that, especially because you factor in Cloud Kingdom has so many chokes in so many different areas that 1 or 2 force fields well placed can cut an entire Terran ball in half. Oh, a missile turret on the production tab. I wonder if Cypress is worried about some sort of I guess Dark Templar play, really, because of the positioning of the missile turret. It provides static detection over here towards the choke, where those Dark Templars would have to run through, rather than over here where he'd be more worried about maybe Phoenix play or something like that. I'm really surprised if he's that worried about it. Where are the scans? He really hasn't thrown a scan into the main base anytime soon. I guess he's just powering on. He needs to have the extra minerals afforded to him by those mules. Really can't afford to expend the energy on that scan. The factory is going to be lifting off. Where is that factory? Oh, here it is. It's already lifted off, already in the middle of the map, going to be moving off. So that's basically his scan. He's going to be checking out in that production tab. Really nice pylon placement right here. It's more for scouting than anything else, allowing D&D to have nice vision of where that drop would go. It's just to the north and then just to the left. But unbeknownst to him, Cypress is moving off, taking, actually exactly beknownst to him, because he's got that probe positioning on the Zelnaga watchtower to see that that force was moving off into the middle of the ground. Got to be very, very careful, because here's that choke that I was talking about. The Observer sees and knows that this force is going to be pushing up here. And again, beautiful scan from Cypress, just realizing that Observer could be there, could be telling D&D everything he needs to know. These rocks are going to go down, making it much, much harder for D&D to make this into a choke that crushes those that Terran bio ball. The number of medevacs is beginning to rise. We're up to 4, which is where Cypress was initially when he started to do those drops, which D&D had such a hard time with. Oh man, D&D has got to be feeling tense right now. He wants to push out. He wants to take his third because he's got so much money right now. But he just can't afford to, because Cypress is knocking on his front door. Cypress is going to be pushing back. He's probably got a CC already constructed. He does, up on the high ground, and is adding on plenty more barracks. He's seen that first Colossus. He's moving out with the Viking count. Just to counter those Colossus, but neither player really wants to engage right now. D&D has those Colossus out, so he's going to have no problem at all melting this bio ball into absolute slag, but only if it happens in a choke. What Cypress wants is for this heavy death ball from Protoss to move off into an open area, so he can get a nice concave on that, and the force fields really won't play that big of a deal right now. Charge is almost done for these Zealots. Almost done. It's about halfway done. And that's going to play a huge role later on too, because even though those force fields can't get into effect, those Zealots with their charge can really cut down on the concavity that the bio ball can force against the Protoss death ball. The Marauders, I really like this. Factoring a lot more Marauders than we saw last time is going to be very effective against the Stalkers as well as the Zealots, making it so that they can kite back very, very easily. I wonder if concussion shells are done. No, concussion shells have not started yet, but I really expect if the Marauder count maintains at this high of a volume, I suspect we're going to see concussion shells sooner rather than later. D&D has secured his third, and Cypress knows it because of the fantastic scan in the top left corner, realizing that, well, D&D hasn't pushed out yet. He's going to have an economic edge just to stay in this game. The third also has been grabbed for Cypress, so both players are culminating here into the third. This is going to be absolutely major, especially because there is no choke here for D&D to abuse. There goes the force fields, but there's nothing trapped on the other side of the force fields. All that just allows Cypress to go to town town on the Nexus, but no, he's firing through the force fields, trying to take down all of those Zealots, but there's just so many Zealots absorbing so much damage. The Vikings have done their job, taking down one of the Colossus, but not the other one, and I think that's every single one of the Vikings. Oh, just one on the production tab, so D&D has the advantage right now. His charge is done. Those Zealots are absolutely monsters, going to town on all of those Marines, forcing the pushback. A major win for D&D, securing that third. But it's not a huge loss for Cyprus because he still has his own third. Economically speaking, they're pretty much on even keel, 67 over 61, and it's up to Cyprus. Does he want to take a fourth? Does he want to sit back and allow D&D to get that in-game composition? Probably not, because D&D's in-game composition is going to be scary as hell. High Templar Archive coming out, so we're going to see Storm in a very short period of time, +2 armor, +1 weapons. Oh man, this is going to get very intimidating in a very short period of time. What we don't see on the production tab are Colossus. Traditionally, okay, there we go. Thank you. He's listening. He's listening. The Observer has found its way back into the main force. Oh, devilishly tricky. Lifting off once again with some medevacs filled up, but oh, D&D sending a very small strike force off to the left side is going to scout these medevacs, is going to see that drop, and that makes D&D feel so very, very good, so very, very safe, knowing that that drop was going to happen and it's been shut down. The Blink Stalkers blinking forward, doing quite a bit of damage to those medevacs, eventually going to be retreating now that the Colossus are out. Oh, do they have Colossus? Oh, they do have concussion shells now. Awesome. I'm so glad both players are so very, very good. They're doing everything I tell them to do. It's so great. It looks like these Zealots and Stalkers are going to have to beat a hasty retreat, but since Charge and Blink are both done, they're very, very fast, only losing a very small amount of their numbers, and this is actually a nice choke for D&D to have because those sentries have been out for so long, they just have absolute full energy. Look at all that purple. This third is in no danger at all, and I think D&D has bought himself plenty of time to get up the High Templars that he needs, warping in 6 of them right now on the production tab. Psionic Storm is only about 60 seconds away from finishing, and he's starting on the Immortal count too, and I wonder why. He's done an excellent job at limiting the amount of Vikings that Cyprus can field right now, and remember, every single one of those Vikings that are being constructed is one medevac that doesn't, and look how big this bio ball is. This needs to be supported by at least twice as many medevacs as we have out right now, and that's because Cyprus doesn't have the starports. He's got another one on the production tab, so he will eventually, but he doesn't have the starports right now. He doesn't have the production ability right now to finance the amount of medevacs needed to support this many Marauders. But these Marauders have quite a lot of hit points. They have no problem at all stomaching the storm. That's well placed. 4 Vikings going down and 4 Colossus going down under a hail of fire from the Vikings, but there's only 4 Vikings. Oh, so many storms. Cyprus doing a good job of dodging away stem after stem, though, bringing them really, really far into the critical. A huge, huge engagement in the favor of D&D. Look how far ahead he is now. 170 over 113. Absolutely massive. He's got another Colossus on the production tab, warping in so many Zealots, and those Zealots have +2 armor. Just so beefy, and they don't need to do any damage at all because all the damage is being presented by all the Colossus as well as those fantastic storms from D&D. Cyprus was engaging very, very well. However, he pushed down into the common ground rather than retreating up on the high ground. And I think that just sealed his fate because then, in order to retreat, he had to run past the gauntlet, taking Colossus artillery fire all the way, a very small strike force of Zealots pushing down in the bottom left-hand side. This CC was being constructed there, however, it was not destined to become a planetary fortress, rather an orbital command, or maybe a planetary down here. But now the D&D sees that the 4th has not been taken, that D&D has succeeded in taking his 4th, has succeeded in pushing out to the point where he is supply capped. Cyprus down to 127. This is looking incredibly grim for Cyprus. What can he do to get back to this game? He's going to need a drop, and he's going to need a drop right away to make it so D&D turns around, because if this force reaches the 3rd, if it starts knocking on that door, the main has been completely mined out. I mean, he's only got 1 or 2 mineral patches left. Cyprus is on his last leg, both economically as well as with army count. 4 Colossus and so many High Templars. They have so much energy for storms. This is going to be a bloodbath. And Cyprus just needs to push out with a very small force and do a drop. But no, this is not what he needs to do. Trying to engage that force, trying to distract it, trying to make it so D&D turns around to defend rather than attack. And no, it looks like D&D is not to be persuaded. Otherwise, he's going to be pushing in to this his force, meeting heavy resistance of all those Marauders, but there goes the Storms, one just right on top of that force, and he's going to be pushing them back, storm after storm, opening up the pathway to the third. Those High Templars are, no, man, they're so ballsy, pushing forward with nothing to defend them, but that's okay because of so many storms, and look at this choke that's being made by those barracks, forcing those Marauders in. Those Marauders melt away, and then behind all those storms were so many Zealots. Cryptys has to just good game out, and it was a great game. D&D showing you how powerful his build was and how good of a job Cryptys did in the first game at making it so that D&D couldn't get that steam up. Very intimidating, very, very powerful. It just shows you that D&D is playing the macro game, Cryptys is playing that mid game, and I think I am really, really expecting a fantastic game 3 because both players have identified the weakness of their builds, and we're going to see changes because of that. Stay tuned for game 3 out of the best of 5. Doesn't matter who wins the next one. It's all about game 5. It's all about game 5. All right, I am Big and Scary. I will see you guys later. Bye.